In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro delves into the political landscape surrounding Kamala Harris and her newly announced running mate, Tim Walz. The discussion begins with a pointed critique of Harris's lack of engagement with the press, noting that it has been 19 days since she has answered any questions regarding her campaign or policies. Shapiro emphasizes the absurdity of her situation, having effectively replaced Joe Biden as the Democratic presidential nominee without facing any scrutiny from the media. This silence is contrasted with the barrage of advertisements flooding the airwaves, attempting to reshape Harris's public image. Shapiro argues that the Trump campaign is beginning to find its footing against the Harris-Walz ticket, particularly criticizing Harris's choice of Walz as her vice presidential pick. The selection is portrayed as a significant misstep, as Walz is characterized as a radical figure, which allows the Trump campaign to label the Harris-Walz ticket as the most extreme in American history. Shapiro suggests that the Trump campaign has been slow to respond to this new political reality, having previously focused on Biden, but now must pivot to effectively counter Harris's rising popularity. The conversation shifts to the implications of Harris's selection of Walz, particularly in relation to the Democratic base. Shapiro claims that Harris is pandering to the progressive wing of the party, especially in battleground states like Michigan, where there is a significant faction of voters dissatisfied with Biden's policies. Shapiro argues that Harris's choice to avoid a candidate like Josh Shapiro, who is Jewish, in favor of Walz reflects a strategic decision to appeal to these progressive voters, despite the potential backlash from more moderate constituents. As the discussion progresses, Shapiro highlights the radical positions of both Harris and Walz, particularly on issues such as policing and foreign policy. The Trump campaign is portrayed as finally launching a counteroffensive, with ads targeting Harris's record on crime and her past support for defunding the police. Shapiro emphasizes that Harris's radicalism is a key vulnerability that the Trump campaign must exploit, especially as polling indicates that she is gaining ground in critical swing states. The podcast also touches on the media's role in shaping the narrative around Harris and Walz. Shapiro criticizes the press for their lack of accountability, noting that they have failed to ask Harris any substantive questions about her policies or her past. Instead, the media is depicted as complicit in promoting the Harris-Walz campaign, providing them with a platform while neglecting to challenge their positions. Shapiro expresses frustration at the media's failure to fulfill their journalistic duties, suggesting that they have become mere lapdogs for the Democratic ticket. The conversation then moves to the controversies surrounding Tim Walz's military service, specifically allegations of stolen valor. Shapiro discusses how Walz has been accused of embellishing his military record, claiming to have served in combat zones when he did not. This issue is framed as a significant liability for Walz, especially as J.D. Vance, the Republican vice presidential candidate, begins to highlight these allegations in his campaign. Shapiro argues that this controversy could resonate with voters, particularly veterans and those who value integrity in public service. The podcast also features commentary on the broader implications of Harris's and Walz's radical positions, particularly regarding their approach to foreign policy and domestic issues. Shapiro points out that Harris's recent comments on Israel and her willingness to engage with pro-Palestinian protesters reflect a significant shift in the Democratic Party's stance, which could alienate moderate voters. He suggests that this radicalism, combined with Walz's questionable military record, creates a target-rich environment for the Trump campaign to exploit. As the episode concludes, Shapiro reiterates the importance of the upcoming election and the need for the Trump campaign to effectively communicate the vulnerabilities of the Harris-Walz ticket. He emphasizes that while Harris may currently be enjoying a surge in popularity, her radical positions and Walz's controversies present significant opportunities for the Republicans to regain ground. The podcast ends with a call to action for listeners to remain engaged and informed as the election approaches, highlighting the critical nature of the political landscape in the coming months.